Education Governor Kim Seok-jun, he is coming back into office. Kim took back the education governor's seat with a comfortable margin in this three-person race yesterday and is set to begin his third term. The governor-elect thanked his supporters and vowed to normalize the city's education immediately. Kim Seok-jun comes back into office with 8 years of experience, and we're hoping that this governor-elect can put things back on track after a tumultuous time with the city's education office and what, the parents, students, everybody has probably been experiencing as well. I'm Catherine. This is Morning Wave in Busan on Thursday, April 3rd on BEFM, 부산영어방송. Good morning, Wavers. I hope you're all doing well. And, we have been leading up to that election. And yes, the votes are in. We have a winner in that race. So the progressive candidate, Kim Seok-jun, will head back into the Busan Office of Education for the third time. So he led with a comfortable margin against the two conservative candidates, Chung Seung-yoon and Choi Yun-hong, based on his name recognition and, as the only candidate in the moderate to progressive sphere. So with all the votes counted, Kim won 51.13% of the votes to Chung Seung-yoon's 40.19% and Choi Yun-hong's 8.66%. In a speech to his supporters, Kim called this victory a win for the people who voted to protect the city's education and democracy. Well, what do we know about the do we say new? Well, the incoming education governor-elect. Well, his previous policies included things like free public education and free school meals. And in this race, Kim pledged to provide full stipends for parents for private kindergartens, 300,000 won support for incoming first graders, closing the education gap, and school buses. His message has been one of normalization, improving the public value of public education and earning back the trust in public education. He also vowed to strengthen after-school care programs and focus on AI technology within the classrooms to help both teachers and students. Education, as we all know, we know this, right? One of the most important values, especially here in South Korea, and one that is closely connected to another major issue, the population. So that's why, at least here, we definitely thought this was an important race. So Kim will only serve 1 year, a short 1-year term, until the next local elections. And we're hoping, of course, that this year will mean good things for the city's education. That's what we're hoping for. All right, later on, we are going to talk about a related story to our text topic. But generally speaking, I want to ask you about this. Have you ever been stopped by a person or persons on the street? So in English, we call them proselytizers, or you might say, in air quotes, I say cult. Maybe you've been on the streets and you've been a target of their campaigning. Let me explain it in Korean, and then I have so many personal stories on this as well. 나는 길거리에서 도를 아십니까? Basically, someone who's trying to maybe convert you or, spread what they believe is, I guess, the good news. 경험해 본 적이 있을 거라고 저는 생각합니다. 길거리에서 이런 활동에서 벗어나는 아니면 이거 안 걸리는 팁도 maybe we can share those as well, assuming that you want to not be bothered by people who might be preachy on the streets. So let me know your stories. I'm sure we've all had an experience or two. You can send them into BFM's live stream live chat on YouTube. So go to the YouTube platform, type in BEFM or 부산영어방송, and you can find our channel, subscribe, log in, and chat with our other waivers. On your phone, pound 9050 shop 9050. It's going to cost you 100 won. You can also reach me for free on Kakao Talk as well, sending your messages and photos too. The ways you can listen to our program, 90.5 or 103.3 FM. That's on the radio if you're in the Busan area. Like I said, we are streaming live right now on YouTube. You can watch again at your leisure as well. We're available on our own app, the BEFM app that you can download for free. Very simple to do. Our program, the Waglwagle segment, is also available on the Patbang app. Looking ahead to our morning together, it is Thursday already. Can you believe? So we have Chris with Beyond the Headlines, Stephanie with City Insights. That's coming up in hour number 2. Stephanie, of course. And then we have for our special interview today. Today, we've been building up to this day because Trump's tariffs, as they've been called, well, they have been announced because U.S. President Donald Trump has been declaring this day, April 2nd U.S. time, as Liberation Day. So what are we talking about specifically in terms of the tariffs? And more importantly, how is this going to affect South Korea? With the tariffs, what does this mean for many of the industries as we are an export-driven country? So find out with our expert in hour number 2. I'll be back with today's headlines. It's now time for today's headlines. It's now 7:06. Trump announces 25% reciprocal tariff on South Korea. U.S. President Donald Trump announced his universal and reciprocal tariffs, including a 25% levy on all South Korean goods imported to the U.S. in a watershed moment for global trade. DP wins 3 municipal head races. Kim Seok-jun wins education and governor in by-elections. In races for heads of municipal governments, the ruling People Power Party, or PPP, won 1 race. The main opposition Democratic Party, DP, 3, and the Rebuilding Korea Party, 1, with progressive candidate Kim Seok-jun making a return as Busan's education governor. Police establish vacuum zone around Constitutional Court. Police have established a widened vacuum state in the 150-meter perimeter of the Constitutional Court, deploying some 200 police vehicles ahead of President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment verdict, which is due tomorrow. Parliament adopts resolution on prompt justice appointment. The opposition-led National Assembly adopted a parliamentary resolution urging acting President Han Duck-soo to promptly appoint Constitutional Court Justice nominee Ma Eun-hyuk with 184 votes. Med students announced continued boycott after government declared victory. Medical students have rebutted a claim from the Education Ministry that nearly 97% of students at the country's 40 medical schools have resumed their studies as of Monday this week. These are today's headlines. It is now time for Busan Updates that we have soon in the studio. Let's say hi first. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, so I want to ask you about if whether you have had experiences with proselytizers, basically someone who may be trying to influence you or, I don't know, convert you or spread some sort of message on the street. So have you had anything like that?
Yes, I have. Absolutely.
Yes.
It was just right after I came back to Korea.
Right.
So I was pretty new to the streets that weren't familiar and
Yes.
stuff. And I was approached by a nice, kind-looking lady. And she was like, I see concerns in your eyes.
Concerns in your eyes.
Yeah.
눈에 걱정거리가 보인다?
네. And she told me that I was giving out weak energy. So I was
Really?
like
the vibes you were sending out were weak. And
좀
then?
약한 기가 느껴진다고요.
oh.
Like, I was like, what?
Were you offended or surprised or what?
Both.
Okay.
So I didn't know what to say. And then she kept going on and on and on. I was patient enough to hear her. And she was like, some of your ancestors, 조상님, are upset. So you need to do something about it. I'm like, from that point, I was like,
oh,
no, I don't think so.
So how did you end the conversation?
I've got to go. I'm not interested in hearing anymore because you offended my 조상님, so I'm walking away.
You offended my ancestors. That was the line. You crossed the line. Oh, and you walked away?
Yeah.
Oh, but she didn't come after you. It was okay?
Oh, well, luckily she didn't.
Yes. Because there are people who are more insistent, right? To the point as one person says, a person using English Wiki as their username saying, proselytizers are a real problem, especially on or near university campuses. Sometimes to the point of harassment. And I have definitely seen that. So
that's dangerous.
Yes. Well, thank you for sharing your real experience with our listeners. We're going to jump into our first update. So this is regarding the East Busan Industrial Complex, which has long relied on expensive tap water, and they're going to soon be receiving treated wastewater for industrial use, correct?
Yes. Businesses in the East Busan Industrial Complex have been using expensive tap water because there was no separate industrial water supply. However, the Busan metropolitan government has decided to solve this issue by providing cheaper treated wastewater from the Gijang and Ilgwang sewage treatment plants. And this is the first time such a system is being introduced in Busan, Ulsan, and Gyeongnam. Currently, companies in the complex pay 2,410 won per ton for tap water, while businesses in West Busan only pay 1,141 per ton for industrial water. And with the new system, companies in East Busan will pay just 801 per ton, which is 67% cheaper.
Yes.
And if they use 36,000 tons per day, they could save about 58 million 800만 원 daily and 21.2 billion won, 212억 won per year.
I see. So how's this going to work though?
So Busan City will revamp the unused Gijang desalination plant to treat wastewater from Gijanggun County and Ilgwang City using reverse osmosis. This is a chemical term. So 물 정화 기술인데요. So it uses pressure to push water through the filter, removing salt, dirt, and other contaminants. So only clean water can come out.
Yes.
And the story behind Gijanggun County desalination plant is that the city originally planned to produce tap water to supply to households in Gijanggun County.
Sure.
But due to the residents' concerns over radioactive contamination from nearby Cory nuclear power plant, the operation was halted in 2018.
I see.
And the project will cost 79.9 billion won, including renovations and installing a 24-kilometer pipeline to the industrial complex. And part of the plant will become a water research facility focusing on desalination. And the city plans to start water supply by 2030 while securing funding and private investors.
Right. So it does sound like kind of a smart and innovative way to have, provide stable industrial water. And once again, this is for industrial water, not for our drinking water. Yes. All right, next up, let's go to this. It seems that 54.3% of major companies in Busan, they have no plans to recruit new employees this year.
Yes. Busan Chamber of Commerce, Busan 상공회의소 announced the results of a 2025 new hiring survey conducted on the top 500 manufacturing companies in the Busan area by revenue. And among the 302 companies that responded to the survey, around 54% stated that they have no hiring plans for this year. And this marks a significant increase of 17.6 percentage points compared to last year's survey. And this indicates a tougher job market this year.
Right.
And among the companies planning to hire new employees, almost 60% responded that their hiring scale will remain similar to last year. At the same time, 28% of companies intend to expand hiring, whereas around 13% plan to scale back recruitment.
Well, it's kind of a mixed bag of news. Well, for those who are hiring, the companies, maybe you have more information regarding the starting salary rates for new employees.
Yes, the largest proportion, 55.5%, falls within the range of 30 million won to 34 million won.
Okay.
신입사원 초임 연봉이 3천만 원 이상 3,400만 원 미만이 제일 큰 비중을 차지했습니다.
Yes.
And this is followed by salaries below 30 million won, which account for 20%, and salaries ranging from 30 million to 38 million won at 15%, and salaries above 38 million won at 9.4%.
I see. So we have a better idea of what the new employees, the new hires, they might be earning if they choose to work in Busan. Thanks for sharing that. All right, next, let's talk about the office, the Busan Office of Education. It's in the news quite a bit, obviously, but this agency has launched Reading Change program with authors. So we need more information on this.
The Busan Office of Education announced that from April to December, it will run a special Reading with Authors program for elementary school students as part of its Reading Change initiative. And the goal is to help students build strong reading skills and develop good character.
Yes.
그래서 독서 역량을 강화하고 바른 인성을 함양하고자 해서 이 프로그램을 추진합니다.
네. Well, I hear that there are two kind of main parts of the program. So can we get the details on this?
So one is Happy Writing with Authors. So this project links reading and writing, and it will be held at 40 elementary schools. And children's book authors from the Busan Children's Literature Association will visit classrooms, leading 80-minute sessions. And students and authors will read, discuss, and write together. And the other one is Book Talk Festival with Authors. This will take place at 50 elementary schools. And what's special about this event is that students will get the chance to meet selected authors from the One Book, One Busan, which is a reading initiative, city's reading campaign.
Okay.
And it means that the author's books have been chosen by the people of Busan as must-read selections for the year.
Wow. And the kids will be able to actually meet the actual authors.
Yes.
What an inspiration for them. Well, I hope that this kind of encourages more like reading, this kind of interaction, right? Moving to our last item for Busan, though, we have the Busan Citizens Park, which is planning to celebrate its already 11th anniversary with year-round events. So let's have it.
So let me give you the overview of the programs.
Sure.
In the spring, a giant sandcastle sculpture is displayed until June, providing visitors with a unique photo opportunity. And the lawn library, which received positive feedback last year, will return at the end of this month and be open until June, offering audiobooks and foreign language books to make reading more accessible for all visitors.
Ah, okay. So that's the overview. But what about the specific events that are going to take place throughout the year?
So for major festivals, on Children's Day, the park will celebrate with fun activities for families.
Sure.
And the Let's Play at Citizens Park event will be held on the first day of every month from May to November, offering cultural performances and interactive experiences. In September, the park will hold the Street Arts Festival, which will include busking, circus performances, and an open concert, 열린 콘서트, featuring well-known artists.
Yes. Tell us more.
Yes. Seasonal events in August, visitors can enjoy an outdoor lawn movie festival, while in winter, the Mirror Pond Light Festival will illuminate the park with dazzling light displays.
Okay.
And from April to November, the park will also offer educational programs such as leisure and cultural classes for adults and ecology and art experience programs for children so they can connect with nature and express themselves creatively.
And I think it's so apt because it's called Busan Citizens Park, so that includes like adults and children alike. What great programs. Thank you for letting us know about them. We'll check in with you tomorrow. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
All right, now to you, the listeners out there, it is time for your traffic and weather. It's time for your traffic and weather. There's some congestion building on the Manduk, from the Manduk intersection to the Namhae Expressway to the Gupo Nakdonggang Bridge. Traffic building on Ulsukdo Bridge toward Luno Samsungdaedo Shinho Bridge. It's also congested on the Dongso Overpass from Hwangyang Ramp to the Old Kaegum Tollgate. It's looking slow on Gwangwon Bridge, the top portion going towards the Taeyeon Overpass. As for the weather, it's currently 8 degrees Celsius here in Busan. Under clear skies, it's going to warm up to 14 degrees Celsius today. Looking at the nation, the weather-wise, cloudy in some parts of the country with light rain forecast for parts of Gangwon, Chungcheong, Jeonbuk, and Gyeongbuk. Also, some thick fog in coastal areas. Once again, please be careful while you're out on the road. This was your traffic and weather.
Are you an early bird? Are you up to date on the news? Are you a trendsetter? For all of the biggest issues from Busan to the world and useful information you need, right here on Morning Wave in Busan.
It's time for News Digest. We have Haley here. Good morning.
Good morning.
Love the green. So glad I didn't wear it today.
I like the green, the hint of green on your scarf.
It was literally hanging. I had a coat, a very thin coat that I was going to wear. And then I was thinking, wait, it's about time that Haley might wear her green.
Yeah, right? I was a little apprehensive. I was like, should I? Can I? Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Yes, it's a thing. Hey. So, hey. You know what we're going to talk about? Mm-hmm. So have you been approached?
So many times. Okay. I think at least every other month because I work in Seomyeon and that 중앙대로 it is. If they ask you for directions, but it's to somewhere obvious like Seomyeon Station, then yeah.
It's probably.
Yeah. But then a lady actually did ask me directions to Seomyeon Station and I was like, 저기요. And I usually am so nice about giving directions because I got 0 cents. So if I know, I'm like, I can take you there. But I was like, 저기요. And then I walked away. But she was actually asking for directions. So I felt so bad.
Oh, she wasn't
so
trying
bad.
To
Oh my gosh. Right.
Whatever.
Then,
yeah.
Funny story. This pair, they approached me and they're like, don't get a nose job and don't get married early. Like,
what?
코 고치지 말고 결혼 일찍 하지 마세요. And I was like, should I?
Like, are you telling me? Is that like a roundabout way?
제 코가 뭐가 어떠죠? I was like, what's wrong with my nose? And then at that point, I was like, lady, if I got married today, that's not getting married early. So we're fine. But like, what's wrong with my nose?
You were stuck on the nose part?
Yeah. I mean, the whole marriage thing, getting married early, that ship sailed. But like, what about my nose?
Oh,
yeah.
That's rude.
Well, no, I was like, but then nowadays they're like, they say 저기요 usually, but then this lady said, 학생, and I was like, 저요?
You're so happy.
What can I do for you? Yeah,
it's like me going to the. Okay, I know I'm gonna get grief. Like when I go to the grocery store, they're like, 세대?
Like, what do you want me to buy? Like, what are you selling?
I will buy everything.
Give me 5 of everything.
Yes. So those kind of experiences.
Yeah.
I'm just going to read a couple real quick.
Sure.
Leslie, she mentions in the States, which is so true, that it is, I can't say particular religions or cults, whatever you want to call them, groups that come to your door, like door to door, literally ringing that doorbell.
Yeah.
And then, what do you usually do? Well, Leslie says she peeks out probably and she doesn't answer. I had one where they came to my office at school and I had a debate for an hour.
Oh, that's fun.
Guess who won?
I wonder who.
I did.
The lady who talks for a living.
Yes. So, and also, I will read more in just a little bit. So I'm going to gather my thoughts because a lot of it is in Korean. So I will pick through all the messages. In the meantime, let's dive into our first story because we want details of Trump's tariffs, the newest round, and of course, Korea.
Of course, they were
Yes.
announced just a couple hours ago. I see our listeners are already talking about it.
Yes.
So President Donald Trump officially announced a 25% reciprocal tariff on goods from South Korea. So specifically, the 10% universal tariffs, 기본관세, will go into effect on April 5th, U.S. time, and individual tariffs on these quote-unquote worst nations on the 9th.
Yes.
And by the way, during the announcement, he actually had a sign, like he had a big board with listings of countries that are the worst offenders.
Yes.
As you can see on our YouTube page. And South Korea is on the 6th, 7th on
Yeah,
that
there we go.
list. Right. So 7th. So Trump stated, though, actually, I do want to go back. After the announcement, the White House released a press release saying that the 25% tariffs do not apply to steel, aluminum, and automobiles, which already have tariffs imposed on them. So it's not
Right.
going to be dual. However, why is the reason? Why are we the worst offender? Because technically we do have a free trade agreement, an FTA, with the United States. However, President Trump said that South Korea's non-tariff trade barriers, 무역 장벽, are perhaps the worst, especially in automobiles, linking us with Japan as well. Because, for example, in South Korea, 81% of vehicles sold in South Korea are made in Korea. As opposed to a very few number of cars, U.S.-made cars sold in Korea. Also in Japan, Trump saying that Toyota sells 1 million foreign-produced cars in America, but American brands, General Motors, GM, and Ford, barely any in Japan.
Oh.
So according to the Korea International Trade Association, South Korea's exports to the U.S. increased by 10% last year, actually, to $127.8 billion. South Korea actually had its best year last year with U.S. trade at 55.7 billion won in the black. South Korea's main exports to the U.S. are cars, semiconductors, and petro products, as well as batteries. So again, these tariffs will hurt the top industries.
Yes.
South Korea is America's 10th biggest importer. Once again, we have virtually no actual tariffs based on the FTA. But as I covered yesterday, the U.S. Trade Representative's recent report named quite a long list of what it sees as trade barriers that are not necessarily taxes, but protection measures.
And don't we have a clip regarding this?
We do. So we're
Yes.
going to hear a clip from Trump's announcement.
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day. Waiting for a long time. April 2nd, 2025 will forever be remembered as the day American industry was reborn, the day America's destiny was reclaimed, and the day that we began to make America wealthy again. For decades, our country has been looted, pillaged, raped, and plundered by nations near and far, both friend and foe.
So I went over the details, but let's pay attention to the general tone and the wording: pillaged, raped, and that's and he's talking about, that list, some of the U.S.'s closest, not just trading partners, but other diplomatic relations. So that is where we are.
Yes, and coming up in a special interview, of course, we have an expert's take on this very hot issue. So stay tuned for that, everybody. Let's move on and talk about what happened yesterday. We had the results of the by-election.
Was it a red wave, blue wave? Really not a big wave anywhere, but maybe a minor blue splash. So in Busan, Busan Education Governor 교육감 race, progressive candidate Kim Seok-jun won. Again, Kim won 51.13% of the votes to the conservative two candidates, Jung Sung-yoon's 40.19 and Choi Yoon-hyung's 8.66. The voter turnout was fairly low at 22.8%, according to the National Election Commission, the NEC.
Yes.
Here's an interesting bit. There's going to be a bit of a legal interpretation over Kim Seok-jun because under the current law, educational governors cannot serve 3 consecutive terms. 3번 연임 불가. This isn't consecutive because he lost the last election to Ha-yoon-soo and came back. But some are seeing this as a 3rd consecutive term because it is still within what he would have served as that third term.
Okay.
So there will have to be kind of a legal interpretation from the NEC and the Education Ministry.
Okay.
But he will likely run for office again next year. And if he is elected next year, Kim will be the country's first fourth-term education governor. And let's go back to other local races. Overall, in the so-called 낙동강 belt, the Democratic Party took the lead generally. We're talking about the Koje mayor's race, Yangsan City Council race, which both went to DP candidates. But the Gyeongnam Provincial Council seat for Changwon went to a People Power Party candidate.
Yes.
And then let's go to the capital area because usually the capital area with the highest population density, they are the casting vote or the key ballot in larger races.
Right.
So there were 4 elections in Seoul, which is a possible glimpse into the public sentiment. Gurogu district chief seat went to Democratic Party's Jang In-hong. Also 4 district council seats in Seoul, 3, Jungnam-gu, Mapogu, and Dongsak-gu districts all have a DP candidates. So going to other races, there were 3 areas where the PPP and DP went head to head.
Yes.
The Democratic Party won in Koje and Asan, and People Power Party in Kimcheon. Really interesting bit, the Rebuilding Korea Party, 조국 혁신당, had a big day yesterday with its candidate Jung Chol-won winning the county chief election for Damyang-gun, and that's the first local office victory for this third party.
I see.
Voter turnout once again relatively low across the entire country because there weren't any high-profile seats, including like a parliamentary representative or metropolitan mayors or governors. We also had other events like the wildfires and the ongoing impeachment case, which some pundits had hoped that this would kind of mobilize a political basis and raise voter turnout. Did not actually happen.
I see. So thanks for going over the details of what happened yesterday. But tomorrow is another big D-Day. We're talking about the Constitutional Court due to announce its verdict on President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment, and there's currently much speculation going on over how the court will rule. There's lots of interpreting before the actual ruling, right?
Right. So there are 3 possibilities legally. 인용, so the impeachment will be upheld, meaning the president will be impeached. 기각, overturning the impeachment, and 각하, dismissal of the impeachment.
Sure.
And to uphold the impeachment, 인용, you need 6 out of the 8 justices to vote to uphold.
Right.
So if the ruling falls anything under that, 5-3, 4-4, and so on, the impeachment won't stand and the president will be reinstated. However, what's interesting, experts are saying that the justices won't be able to make a 5-3 ruling.
And why is that?
So it's precedence from the Constitutional Court's own cases. So going back to the impeachment case for Communication Standards Chief Lee Jin-suk, the court ruled, the court was ruling with only 6 justices on the bench at that time. And there was a huge case and it accepted the injunction of the Constitutional Court Act, which said the court needs at least 7 justices to make a ruling. So basically it allowed itself to rule with just 6. But, and here's the big but, it also said that in order to rule that a law is unconstitutional or rule on impeachment, you still need agreements from at least 6 justices. So in that case, it had to be a unanimous ruling. In Korean, 법률의 위헌 결정이나 탄핵 결정을 하기 위해서는 여전히 6명 이상의 찬성이 있어야 한다. So that 6 is key. So if opinion is torn, then in that case, you would need to wait until one empty seat, the final empty seat, would be filled to for the justices to make a ruling. So basically what that means, the Constitutional Court has tied its own hands, that if its decision is at a 5-3 divide, then you would need to wait for Justice Ma Eun-hyuk to be appointed to kind of cast that final ballot to be not a tiebreaker per se, but at least break the 5-3 ruling. Especially, it's already ruled that the acting president not appointing Judge Ma Eun-hyuk is in violation of the National Assembly's rights. So jurists are saying that in a 5-3 ruling, the court would be going against its own word, so probably not going to do that.
I see. So, you mean, once again, that's coming tomorrow. In the meantime, yes, experts are growing concerned about the potential violence after the ruling does come down, because there are very distinct camps out there.
There are, and there have been tense moments and friction already in front of the Constitutional Court, with protests and rallies going well into the late night, even through the night. So experts are saying that some forces are trying to take advantage of this by gaining power or money, and they're aggravating the general public, spreading propaganda, raising the temperature, and some have said this is an almost civil war-like manner. So they're saying, the public, everyone needs to accept the results no matter what, and it is important for the president and the party leaders to really convey that message that they will accept the Constitutional Court's ruling and also move towards social unity. In the meantime, the police have set off to turn the area around the court into a vacuum. Subway stations around the court, palaces, museums will close on Friday.
Yes.
Even stores will shut down. Again, another blow to the business. People Power Party lawmakers and supporters, they have set up tents in front of the Constitutional Court.
Yes.
And the police said these tents will go down no matter what before tomorrow. The 11 schools around the court and the elementary school around President Yoon's residence, they have decided to cancel classes tomorrow.
Yes. So it's tense. Any which way you cut it. Of
Right.
course, we're hoping for absolutely no violence either which way. So we await the verdict, and of course, we'll give you the latest probably on Monday.
That's
It'll be
right.
probably after our show. So thank you so much for going over the ins and outs of all the news. We'll check in with you in hour number 2. Thank you, Haley.
See you in a bit.
All right, now back to you, the waivers out there. So we've been talking about, proselytizers or people who belong to cults that may have stopped you on the streets or anywhere, come to your door, come to your office. So, and also tips on kind of getting out of these sticky situations. So we have a message from Gosu who says, 본인의 운명을 알고 계신가요? 라고 시작을 했나 봐요. 눈빛이 큰 뜻을 이룰 눈빛이에요? 라고 했대요, 고수님한테. 나무아미 답을 관세음 보살 하고 그냥 지나갔어요. 오, that's a good one. 그리고 혼자 걸어갈 때 항상 그분들이 오시더라고요. 2명은 말 안 거는 듯. That's actually a very important point. 그거 고수님이 he's saying basically, he's been approached and then he just, offers like a line in a Buddhist or some sort of line, they go away. But that it seems that he's approached or people are generally approached when they're by themselves. That's kind of true. Kind of true, and I say kind of because I got to tell this story because it's been eating at me. I got attacked literally on the street my kids were really little, I was struggling with them, walking with them, and this actually 2 women came toward me and said, they were trying to convert, and I was just like, no, thank you. I'm with my children. 아이들이랑 같이 있으니까 그만 좀 하실래요? Like in this tone. And she started, one of them, yelling at me in Korean, saying that my kids, 아이들 저주를 하더라고요. 거기 간다고, 밑에 쪽 거기. And I said, and then 이제 그때 Mama Bear, like Leslie says, Mama Bear appeared. I couldn't handle it. I told my kids, go with Imo, stay with her. And then 그때는 한국말 잘 못했을 때예요. 그래서 화가 나니까 자꾸 영어가 나오는 거예요. 그래서 영어로 브라라라라 했어요. 어쩔 수 없이 because that's Mama Bear. I protect my children. I respect everybody's beliefs, but hey, once you attack my children and say they're going to HELL, there's no turning back that conversation. So, yes, there are many experiences I'm sure that you have as well. In the meantime, we're going to get to Cat's Pick, and I will read more of your messages coming up later on. Here's Cat's Pick. For today's Cat's Pick, this is a focus on what's happening in the U.S. We've all heard of filibuster, right? This is when a politician takes to the podium and talks at length. So this is Cory Booker, who is a Democratic senator. He broke the record in the U.S. for filibustering. Here's a clip from ABC News.
Democratic Senator Cory Booker is just about to break the record for longest filibuster. We want to look at this live right now. This is a live look at the House floor. The New Jersey senator has officially been speaking for for about 24 hours and 19 minutes straight. There was a small break with a chaplain that came in for a while, but he has been going nonstop. He now surpasses the record held by the late Senator Strom Thurmond, who filibustered for 24 hours and 18 minutes in 1957 in opposition to the Civil Rights Act. Let's listen in to Cory Booker.
These are not normal times in America. But I know who does have the power: the people of the United States of America. The power of the people is greater than the people in power. It is time to heed the words of the man I began this whole thing with, John Lewis. I beg folks to take his example of his early days, where he made himself determined to show his love for his country at a time the country didn't love him, to love this country so much, to be such a patriot that he endured beatings savagely on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, at lunch counters, on freedom rides. He said he had to do something. He would not normalize a moment like this. He would not just go along with business as usual. He wouldn't know how to solve it. But there's one thing that he would do that I hope we all can do, that I think I did a little bit of tonight. He said for us to go out and cause some good trouble, necessary trouble, to redeem the soul of our nation. I want you to redeem the dream. When our founder said we must mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. We need that now from all Americans. This is a moral moment. It's not left or right, it's right or wrong. It's getting good trouble. My friend, Madam President, I yield the floor.
So some say, was it really a filibuster because there was no legislation that he was trying to hold up? Some people say it's a form of political protest or political theater against the Trump administration. So any which way you cut it, going for more than 24 hours without taking a break, no bathroom breaks, just, really letting people know how you feel, whichever way you vote. This man has conviction. So this was Kat's Pick for today.
Stay tuned. You're listening to Morning Wave in Busan.
It's time for our segment right now. And we have Chris in the studio. It's called Beyond the Headlines.
Yes, good
How
morning.
are you?
I'm doing pretty well today.
Yes. And since we're talking about our text topic, have you ever been approached, whether, back home or here in Korea, trying to get you to come to something?
So I used to get approached all the time when I was younger. I started in Korea. I came here about 2011.
Oh.
And I've had at least 4 or 5 different groups approach me. And back then I was friendlier to them. Actually, if they approach me now, I'm still friendly. And I listen to them, and it allows me to really understand the reasons to avoid them. So I guess something has changed on my face, and they haven't come up to me in a while.
Oh, in a while.
So, I'm actually kind of glad for that change, because it was always annoying to get stopped on the road.
It's a good change.
Yeah.
So I guess you're doing something right. Maybe. Well, thank you for sharing your experiences with our listeners. We're going to dive into our topic. What do you have for us today?
Well, it's been really nice this week.
Yes.
I really enjoy the spring with all the flowers. I do think back when I was in high school, I memorized a poem by A.E. Housman that goes, "Loveliest of trees, the cherry now is hung with bloom along the bough and stands along the woodland ride wearing white for Eastertide."
Yes.
It's a beautiful poem. There's more to it. But it really comes down to making the most of the time you have now and not waiting for the good things in life to happen. Now, I know that you and I, we're not old per se, but neither of us are in our 20s anymore.
Oh, sure.
So there are many important things that are happening that happened to us in our teens and 20s.
Sure.
And one of them is establishing our sense of fashion and style.
Fashion. Is that what we're
Fashion.
talking about today?
Yeah, I'd like you to think back.
Okay.
And
Think back.
remember what your style was like when you were in your 20s.
Oh, in my 20s. I'm trying to think back. That far back. What was I wearing? I was in love with jeans, and there's a reason, though. Because my mama bear, my mama, didn't let me wear jeans.
Really?
At all when I was a kid. She was always like, you got to dress proper for school. And I went to a public school. No uniform. 근데 청바지, no 청바지s were allowed. Like, only during the weekend. And then when I got to be, an adult in university, I was just like, I am my own person now. I get to wear jeans. So I was just like living in jeans all the time. And I think during my college years, I think it was like the boot cut. That was like what's
the
in.
boot cut jeans, yeah.
Oh, we have a message from 2391. 저 때는 부츠컷 청바지요. So we might be of a similar era,
Similar
2391.
time,
Because, but bootcut jeans were in for like a while. But then it was also the low rise. 요즘에는 다 거의 it's like the high waist.
Yes.
But it's like the low rise back in the day. So when I pull out like my old jeans, my kids are always like, it's like we could 짧아. Like where the waist is, right? It's so short. I'm like, well, back in the day, you kind of showed it off your tummy, like hints of your tummy, and it was very low cut. Yes.
Yeah. I think it's about the same for me when I was in my 20s. At the end of that, the longest time, skinny jeans came in, and they have been in a powerhouse in the fashion industry for more than a few years. And the trend has recently changed back to wide leg jeans with the Jinko, those huge flared ones that cover up your shoes. Those have been happening, in the past few years as Gen Z has come into their 20s. And this is something that's a little bit different from other generations. Gen X and the older millennials put their own spin on the fashion industry by bringing in bright clothing, novel cuts, as well as new ways to wear their clothes. Gen Z has been a little bit different with their trend towards simple fashion, as well as looking back on nostalgic styles. I mentioned this trend last week about grandma core.
Yeah.
But this week, I want to talk about Gen Z work fashion.
Ooh. Is there a thing? Because, okay, I know, with students, you see students, every day too. But with my students, because it's casual, they're really heavily into sweats. But it's all the very, very kind of 황아리 style, very loose-fitting sweats.
Yes.
꽉 끼는 거 아니고, especially for the girls, for the young ladies, they wear very, very loose, kind of, we call them harem style kind of sweats. They're really in right now. So I'm curious as to what the Gen Z work uniform is. What do they wear to work?
Yeah, it's, I want you to imagine the following. Very simple, very formal, very conservative, very covering up everything, and unchanging.
Is this what we're talking about? That's
Yes.
what they're wearing? Oh.
So The Guardian talked about this week, as well as Fortune, and they're saying that the key word they come to was the last one, unchanging.
Well, what does that mean, unchanging? They don't change their clothes?
No, it just means think about buying 5 or 6 of the same outfit, or having the same exact pair of pants and wearing them every day, or using that a key feature, same pair of pants in 5 or 6 different outfits. You go to your closet, you pick out one of a dozen black turtlenecks and jeans, and then you head off to work.
By the way, if we have any Gen Zers out there, we want to hear your take on this. Is this, we're getting this, Chris and I were talking about this. We're not from Gen Z. We're not of that era. So we're going off of what we are hearing and listening to and scouring. But the whole black turtleneck thing, that sounds like Steve Jobs. No?
Yeah,
how's this new?
It's not new in that sense. When we think about what is happening with Gen Z, we have to think about the nostalgia. And this simple, repetitive fashion is something that tech leaders have made famous from the early 90s and early 2000s.
He really didn't change, did he?
Did not change at all.
He just lost a lot of hair. Yeah. Well, why? I'm just saying. No.
He did,
By the way, you're wondering, what am I talking about? We have photos of Steve Jobs on our YouTube page from 1999 to 2010. And by the way, that is not a diss.
No.
He kept his outfit that way for a reason because, What's the reason?
Yeah, well, Fortune magazine did report on this trend that gray, black-hued outfits with limited rotation have been they've been talked about a lot on social media platforms. And the reason for this trend is partly it's to limit decision fatigue.
No, I get it.
Yeah, this is the idea for those of you who don't know. Haven't heard about decision fatigue. This is the idea that after making many decisions, your ability to make more decisions over the course of the day becomes worse.
Yes.
This is according to Dr. Lisa McLean at the American Medical Association. She continued that the more decisions you have to make, the more fatigue you develop and the more difficult making decisions can become. And when you take the need to choose an outfit out of your day, it frees up space to do other things.
Yes.
Decision fatigue is such a big buzzword that even CEOs have talked about it. Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Block and co-founder of Twitter, back in 2015 said, "I look to build a lot of consistent routines. Same thing every day." He explained that his day started at 5 a.m. and ends at 11 p.m. and involves regular medicine, a strict workout schedule, and a 5-mile walk to work. Now, 1G Gen Z, a social media user at corporate... don't know how to pronounce this, mentioned that I have no time for decision fatigue and the destruction it causes.
Okay.
So the UK-based commercial lead rotates a small collection of work outfits consisting mostly of jeans and a black blazer and a long coat.
And speaking of like Gen Zers, we know one in common, aka Zach, right? And I noticed, I asked him because I was like, are those the same gray sweats that you wore yesterday and the same black shirt? He goes, no, of course not. No, and then I was like, but you look exactly the same as you did yesterday. It's like their uniform, I swear. Like the gray, sweats. And I was like, how many gray pairs of... He goes, I have the same gray sweats. He goes, I have 5 pairs.
Yeah.
And I was like, so you just rotate? He's like, yeah. And I asked him why. And it's very similar to what you're talking about right now, hitting it on the head. Like the decision making for him, it's like, I don't want to decide.
Yeah.
I have so much on my plate. I have to go to school. I have my part-time jobs. I don't have time to mess around with fashion. I was just like, okay.
It just takes that one step, one decision out. Yeah.
So is it about decision fatigue or is it beyond that?
Well, as with most things, there are multiple reasons for different attire.
Yes.
The young people tend to push the envelope of what is acceptable in fashion.
Right.
And this has always caused friction in the workplace. According to a report by Fortune, 6 out of 10 employers admitted to firing Gen Z workers within a month of hiring them. And the most cited reason was? Young workers' inappropriate fashion choice.
Really?
Yeah. And according to Amanda Augustine, a certified career coach at the career platform resume.io, with layoff fears and economic uncertainty looming, it's not uncommon for individuals to gravitate towards structure and routine of comfort. And by developing a consistent morning routine, including the standard work uniform, young professionals are finding ways to feel more in control of their careers, even when other elements may feel uncertain.
So is that one example of an outfit that might be a factor in being fired?
Yes.
Maybe.
Inappropriate work attire, yes.
Meaning showing too much of your midriff and very kind of deeply cut in the front.
Yes, and shoulders are often seen as inappropriate as well. So
and it really does depend on the company, though. Because sleeveless is okay for some companies, but in others, in a very conservative banking industry, they always prefer you to
I worked in a government office, and that was a no-go.
Oh, no. Yeah, yes, definitely. Well, before we wrap up, I do want to ask you, though, what's kind of driving, if we had to conclude, driving this trend, what do you think it is?
Well, mostly it's nostalgia.
Okay.
There's a lot of, if you can really think about one word that's been describing the Gen Z's formative years, and it has to be instability. You've got things like the pandemic, the economic and political turmoil of the last several years, and all of these, fashion trends, the granny core, this work uniform, really help connect you to happier times.
Yes.
It's really a way to slow down one influencer said, I think part of it is the desire to know, the desire to kind of find slowness in your day versus the consistent, fast-paced rat race of what we were kind of taught was what we should be doing all day.
Yes. So on that note, maybe we can encourage people to slow down a little bit and just kind of enjoy their day, right?
Yeah, I do hope that everybody is able to slow down this week and enjoy their life. Go out and take a look at the spring weather, take some pictures of the cherries.
Yes, indeed. Well, thank you so much for bringing this very interesting trend to our listeners. We'll check in with you next week. Thank you, Chris.
Have a good one.
All right, it's time to wrap up hour number 1. This is 마지막 사랑 by Park Kyung, as requested by Benny. I'll be back at 8.
부산영어방송.
부산의 축제 어디까지 즐겨보셨나요? 과거와 현재, 미래가 공존하는 항구도시 부산. 이곳 부산은 계절을 물들이는 다양한 축제로 늘 풍성합니다. 봄의 시작을 알리는 봄꽃 축제부터 부산의 여름을 만끽하는 바다축제, 전 세계 영화인들이 모이는 부산국제영화제와 새로운 시작의 해맞이 축제까지.
wet wipes, use rags and towels. These small steps for the environment can have a big impact on planet Earth. This campaign was brought to you by BEFM 부산영어방송.
김밥가게 박 사장님도, 문구점 김 사장님도, 우리 부산의 경제를 움직이는 사람들. 우리 동네 작은 가게로 향하는 발걸음이 우리 부산의 경제를 키워가는 한 걸음입니다. 부산 방송광고 발전 협의회.
The time is now 8 o'clock.
Good morning, Dynamic Busan.
Yeah, you're waking up. Time to shake it up. Tell the world good morning and find out what's going on.
Well, hi there, folks. There's everything from comedy to lively chat to music.
Broadcasting from a room about the size of your closet.
All calls are recorded.
What show is this?
Live from Korea's dynamic city, this is Morning Wave in Busan.
I'm sorry, who'd you say you were?
It is now 8 o'clock. This is News Highlights. Trump announces 25% reciprocal tariffs on South Korea. U.S. President Donald Trump announced his universal and reciprocal tariffs, including a 25% levy on all South Korean goods imported to the United States and a watershed moment for global trade. In a Rose Garden ceremony at the White House, Trump announced a universal baseline 10% tariff on imports into the U.S., with additional tariffs for South Korea, China, the EU, Vietnam, Taiwan, Japan, and India, among other nations. Trump said he will start a golden age for America on what he dubbed Liberation Day. This will likely trigger a series of follow-up action warned by several nations and change the face of free trade around the world. DP wins 3 municipal head races. Kim Seok-jun wins education governor in by-elections. In races for heads of municipal governments, the ruling People Power Party, or PPP, won 1 race. The main opposition, Democratic Party, or DP3, and the Rebuilding Korea Party won, with progressive candidate Kim Seok-jun making a return as Busan's education governor. In 3 races where the PPP and DP candidates went head-to-head, DP candidates won 2 races to the PPP's 1. The DP, however, lost its home turf election in Damyang, Jeonnam Province to minor Rebuilding Korea Party candidate Jung Chul-won. The total voter turnout for the 23 races came to 26.27%, according to the National Election Commission. Police establish a vacuum zone around Constitutional Court. Police have established a widened vacuum state in the 150-meter perimeter of the Constitutional Court, deploying some 200 police vehicles ahead of President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment verdict announcement tomorrow. Access to sidewalks and buildings within the area will remain open to the public, but the sidewalk directly in front of the court will be restricted to court officials and the media. Meanwhile, the U.S. Embassy in Seoul advised American citizens in South Korea to avoid large crowds or demonstrations ahead of the verdict announcement. Parliament adopts resolution on prompt justice appointment. The opposition-led National Assembly adopted a parliamentary resolution urging acting President Han Duck-soo to promptly appoint Constitutional Court Justice nominee Ma Eun-hyuk with 184 votes. The ruling People Power Party boycotted the vote with the exception of Representatives Park Young-soo and who both opposed the resolution. This is the second time the parliament has adopted a resolution calling for Ma's appointment, having adopted the first one on February 14th, urging then acting president Choi Sang-mok to appoint Ma. Med students announce continued boycott after government declares victory. Medical students have rebutted a claim from the Education Ministry that nearly 97% of students at the country's 40 medical schools have resumed their studies as of Monday this week. The Korean Medical Student Association said yesterday that its own survey showed that only 3.8% are taking or planning to take classes, adding it will continue to fight. Heads of universities with medical schools in response warned that students who continue to boycott classes after registering will face failure or expulsion under school regulations. This was News Highlights. It's time for Wagle. We have Haley back in the studio.
Hello again.
Yes. So what's your newest nickname? It went from 고라니 to
꽃사슴.
꽃사슴,
which is nice.
That's
which is
a
so
cute
nice.
one. I
Which
like
is
that
so
one.
sweet. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. You know. Yeah. And then I think Layla Nim, she said we need to re-educate me on how not to follow people when they call me 학생. Because I will. Because
You
I
will follow.
completely. I'm like,
Where?
Me, let's go. What do you want? Yeah.
All right, we're going to get into our first story. This is a story about someone who tore...
It is a story.
It is a story. Someone tore up a check for 127 million won and threw it in the trash.
Why would you do that? Why?
Where?
Well, you're
Where?
trying to destroy evidence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
This isn't a mistake. This was completely on purpose.
Okay.
Because
What happened?
he is suspected of voice phishing. So Gangneung police yesterday booked a man in his 60s on voice phishing charges.
Yes.
So what happened last month? We're going to rewind. The police received a call from someone who's about to be the victim of voice phishing. The victim said he handed off a check for 127 million won. And by the way, checks in Korea are not like personal checks in the States. They can be used like cash. You
It's
know,
like a
kind of
cashier's check.
Cashier's or traveler's check.
Yes.
Well, but why would you do that? 127 million won? 1억 2,700만 원 because the other person was impersonating the Financial Supervisory Service and prosecution. I mean, two groups that will instill a fear in you.
Yes.
So the police, thankfully, they immediately stopped the check from the transaction and they combed through CCTV footage to identify this suspect. Great. But then the suspect apparently took a train from Gangneung and ran off to Seoul. But on March 23rd, the police busted him and found a torn up check inside his home trash can. And they confirmed that this was the check that the victim had given to the man, and the man admitted to the crime.
Oh.
And so turns out he's a part of a voice phishing operation, and somebody in the operation found out that the check had been stopped, informed him and told him to tear the check. Yeah, and so that's what happened.
Well, I would think that that's like real good evidence. The fact that, they found the check, that's a good thing for the police, right?
It is. And then it's also really important for the victim. And here's the thing we need to know about checks, because if the police hadn't found the check that was torn up, the money would have been gone for the victim. There would have been no way for the victim to recover that money for 10 years. Why 10 years? Because, once again, checks in Korea are used like cash. So they can only be reissued by your bank if that check wasn't used for 10 years. Unless you can prove it's been stolen or lost. But here's the thing, although this victim is a victim of a scam, they physically handed it off. So it's not stolen or lost.
I see.
I mean, it is so technical, but legal things have to be technical because of the law. So it couldn't have been reissued immediately. Here's the thing about the victim. He took it out of his, this was his entire retirement fund.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so it would have been 10 years, a long time if you are in that retirement age. So once again, please remind everyone around you, the police, the FSS, the authorities, prosecution, they will never demand money from you, especially to be collected in person.
Yes. So, right. I know it's very I hear about all the time people who have fallen victim to voice phishing.
Right.
And then when you hear their stories, you kind of think how could you not know? And then when you listen to the details.
But in the moment,
people do
and they
fall for it.
psychologically
Yes.
pressure you so much. So the best way to prevent this is to consistently be in the know.
Exactly,
right?
yes. Well, let's move on to our next topic. There is an alert out for a new proselytizing operation. And this time, it's a news story. So we're going to name it by 신천지.
Right. So
Yes.
according to a local Busan church, 신천지 has a new operation to draw in potential followers. So 신천지 is, it's called 신천지, but also English name, Church of Jesus, the Temple of the Tabernacle of the Testimony, or SCJ. By most churches in South Korea, they're considered a pseudo-religion, or what we colloquially say, a cult. 사이비. One of its core principles is that its founder is a prophet or the pastor that was promised in the New Testament.
Okay.
They're also known for very elaborate operations to draw people in. And the latest is a pop-up, like a pop-up store, which is so trendy.
Right.
It's called 뽀송뽀송 빨래방. Has nothing to do with laundry, but it's a digital detox pop-up. Again, very in line with the times.
Yes.
So it's an experience where you pay about 10,000 won, 만원 to digital detox. Once you get there, and this is very clever because what are you doing? Digital detoxing.
Yes.
So they take your phone away from you. So they're cutting you off from outside contact that can kind of maybe tell you, oh, hey, that's a cult, or maybe that seems sketchy. And then under the guise of kind of therapy, they'll have you answer a series of questions about you. And the information is then used to come up with a proselytizing 포교 activities, a scenario that fits your specific needs. They'll also get your phone number because there are raffles. So enter your phone number so they can contact you later. The pop-up has been reported in 광주, 서울, 정읍, 인천, and Busan. This is advertised online via social media and word of mouth, which means it is harder for them to crack down on it. And by the way, this is from CBS No Cut News. And the church that released this story said, always check which organization, a pop-up or any event is hosting that event.
Right.
And by the way, to add a little bit of a personal note, there were a group of people doing tarot card readings on the street, by Centum Station.
Yeah.
And this is kind of similar. They were getting a lot of, asking people a lot of personal questions. And if they seem to be having a rough time, why don't you write down your phone number so we can contact you and we can follow up, make sure you're okay. Of course, once again, could have been just someone giving out free advice. Also could have been a part of, these attempts.
That's why they always say, check the source.
Right.
Know where this is coming from. Because, if you do it knowingly, that's on you. That's your personal choice.
Right.
But unwittingly, unknowingly, it can happen to you. All right. Moving to our final story, we're going to talk about this real-life hero from, a very unfortunate event, the Gyeongbuk fires, right?
Right. So the village leaders, 이장님, and a fishing vessel crew member or members are credited with saving dozens of lives in Yeongdeokgung County.
Yes.
In the small village 축산면 경정 3리. So the fire from March 25th, it spread to nearby 황장리 in the afternoon and the evening, took all of 2 hours to spread 25 kilometers to this 경정 3리 village.
Yes.
Population 60.
60.
Nothing behind that, just 60.
60.
Right.
Okay.
And by the way, these rural villages, the members are very much senior. Right. So by this time, so we're talking about 8 p.m., most of the residents were at home or even sleeping. So when the village leader, 이장님 김필경, he went outside, saw the smoke.
Yes.
He sent out text messages and then sent out, announcements over the PA system. No one came out. So at that point, he enlisted help of the town's 계장님, Mr. 유명신, and Indonesian shipping crew member Sugianto to go around the village, knocked on every door. woke up the residents and helped them evacuate. And in a video that was released by the captain of this ship, it is chaotic, flames, and residents trying to evacuate towards the end of the 방파제, the breakwater. And Mr. Sugianto, whom you see on our page, on our YouTube page, he wound up carrying 7 elderly residents on his back. I mean, one at a time, literally, piggyback, right?
Oh my gosh. So he went back 7 times.
He went back 7 times with the smoke and the flames. And he affectionately, because he's been there for so long, he has a little bit of a 경상 사투리. He calls them 할매. Which is, and it shows the affectionate relationship because when you you have a casual relationship. Another Indonesian national, Leo, also helped with the rescue efforts.
Amazing. And the thing is, they're getting recognized. And you know what? Heroes don't do it to be recognized.
Exactly.
Right.
But it's great when we can recognize them.
Absolutely.
Right? So the Justice Ministry, they're looking into giving them long-term residency. So Acting Minister of Justice Kim Seok-woo directed the ministry to look into giving Mr. Sugianto an F2 visa.
What is that?
So what is this? It is a long-term residency visa, but I'm going to just personally dub this like a hero visa because it's given, it's not an official term, to someone who has made a special contribution to the country or to general public interest. So yeah. I mean, good ending.
I mean, I don't care what their nationality is.
Right.
But then going above and beyond as a human being.
Right. Yes.
So glad that, they're getting recognized, or he is at least. But also, let's talk about the fact that, often flying under the radar, the whole idea about, yes, human life is most precious.
Of course.
But what about the animals and the efforts to rescue them during the fire?
Right. So we are a few days away from the fire. So I do want to highlight this part because a lot of pets and livestock, so animals, they died or got hurt in the fires. And this ranges from farm animals to, unfortunately, dogs who are raised tied up to a post or their home. So again, a lot of dogs in the country are kind of tied up, and when their owners evacuate, they're still tied to where they are. Livestock often get left behind and are counted as property loss. So pets, even those who are lucky enough to evacuate with their owners, they're not allowed in shelters, which again, understandable. Somebody could have allergies and there are resource issues. So animal rights activists, they call for policy that would include protection of animals in times of disasters. And activists and organizations, they've been volunteering to rescue injured animals. Most of them, as you saw, are dealing with burns and even respiratory problems. So if left untreated, can significantly shorten their lifespan and even quality of life. Veterinarians, so vets, 수의사, they have also volunteered, and Gyeongbuk provincial government is currently operating a mobile animal hospital for rescue and treatment.
Yes. So once again, because, we have amply covered, of course, the human loss, devastating, property loss as well, but can't forget about, I
mean, this goes to say the wildfires, they take a toll on everyone and everything.
Yes, indeed. Well, thanks for going over all the details and all the Wagley stories. We'll check in with you tomorrow. Thank you, Haley.
Have a great day.
All right, now it's back to you, the listeners, for our traffic and weather. It is now time for your traffic update. There are 2 accidents to report on. First up, on the Dongso overpass going away from the city right before the Chinyang ramp. There's another accident on the Namhae Expressway going towards Suncheon around the Deokcheon ramp. It's been cleared up, but there's still backup ensuing. And it looks congested from Mandakdero, from Mandaktunnel number 2 to the Namhae Expressway. There's traffic building on Gwanmun-dero from Pangnam Tunnel to Baekyang Tunnel. And it's also slow on Luno-Samsung-dero from the Myeongji underpass to Shinho Bridge. Currently, it has gone up to 9 degrees Celsius on average here in Busan under clear skies. It's going to warm up to 14 degrees today. In other parts of the country, it's looking cloudy with light rain forecast for parts of Gangwon, Chungcheong, Jeonbuk, and Gyeongbuk. This was your traffic and weather. And this is Built to Last by Malay.
future places, but never found someone like you. Someone whose smile makes me feel I've been holding back, and now there's nothing I can't do. 'Cause this is real and this is good. It warms the inside just like it should. But most of all, it's built to last. It's built to last. It's built to last. All of our friends saw from the start, so why didn't we believe it too? Oh yeah, now look where we are. You're in my heart now, and there's no escaping it for you. 'Cause this is real and this is good. It warms the inside just like it should. But most of all, it's built to walking on the hills at night with those fireworks and candlelight. You and I were meant to get love right. 'Cause this is real and this is good. It warms the inside just like it should. But most of all, it's built to last. 'Cause you are the sun in my universe. Consider the best when we felt the worst. And most of all, it's built to last.
Welcome back. So going back to our text topic one last time, some of your responses. Umberto says, I do the same trick I do to every salesperson or timeshare sellers. So whether he says whatever religion that you're trying to sell, he has 2 words. Actually, I think it's 3, Umberto, but no, thank you. The thank you we're counting as 1, so we'll say 2 words, is what he usually says, and then he'll leave. So at least you're being nice about it, though, unless you're not saying anything harsh. You're at least saying, thanks, but no, it's not for me. So it's quite common. Even Leslie was mentioning, like, even when she was in Korea, she was approached by some people as well. It's a common occurrence, whether it's in Korea or the States or any other country. However, it's like, if we can learn to respect each other, regardless of whether we think, another person's beliefs may be a little out there, but also if you're going to be preaching to me, respect me and us if we say, no, I'm not interested, is I think the point, right? Because sometimes it can border on harassment, really bothering people as well. So anyhow, thank you for that. And then we have a photo, a little something, a little gift from Souvenir who sent this in. And this is along the lines of yesterday, what we talked about with Leon. Do you guys remember? So if you see the image, it's very similar to what I have on. So thank you for going to the effort, Souvenir, of, yes, Haley and I fully appreciate it. The fact that you went to such great lengths. To me, this doesn't look like a Ghibli studio-esque kind of, not that kind of app, but it's like a cartoony one, right? And I love the fact that, like, in this one particularly, Haley with her big eyes, and I'm smiling. So I'm gonna save this one. So thank you for that. We're gonna get into our special interview though, because just a few hours ago, this was announced. This whole Liberation Day trumps tariff. So let's get into this interview with our expert for today. Just a few hours ago, U.S. President Donald Trump declared Liberation Day. This was done in the Rose Garden, announcing a new round of reciprocal tariffs on major trading partners, aiming to boost U.S. manufacturing. And these tariffs are expected to impact global trade, raising concerns about their effect on economies like South Korea. Industries such as the automotive and electronics fields, which rely heavily on exports to the U.S., may face significant challenges. And as trade tensions escalate, there are so many questions about how long these tariffs will last, their impact on consumers, and whether they could contribute to a broader economic slowdown. So joining us is Professor Philip Braun. He's a clinical professor of finance at Northwestern University's Kellogg School of Management. Let's say hi to him. Hi, welcome to our program.
Thank you very much.
Yes. So if we can go over the key details of President Donald Trump's new tariff policy, which he announced on what they're calling the administration Liberation Day. So what do you know so far, Professor?
So Trump's going to institute a 10% tariff globally across all countries, unless particular countries like South Korea have very high tariffs against U.S. good imports already, and he'll have a higher tariff rate for these particular countries. And also, separately, he has the 25% tariff on automobiles and parts.
Yes, indeed. And so if we can backtrack just a little bit, Professor, to give a more in-depth look for our listeners, why? What's the reasoning behind all these new tariffs?
President Trump's argument is that across time, U.S. manufacturing base has eroded away, that most manufacturing is done outside of the U.S., and that, and the reason for that being that some countries like South Korea have high tariff rates against U.S. imports, whereby the U.S. doesn't have a counteracting tariff to restrict Korean imports. And so his goal is to, one, try to reestablish a manufacturing base in the U.S. for things like automobiles. Secondly, he thinks he's going to raise a lot of income from these tariffs and therefore thereby reduce the U.S. deficit because of these tariffs. Those are the two main reasons why he's instituting these tariffs.
I see. Well, the administration, it seems, has indicated that these tariffs would be capped and could be negotiated downward by the respective countries. So in your opinion, Professor, what factors could influence the duration of these tariffs? And maybe under what conditions could they be lifted or at least adjusted?
It's going to be a country-by-country basis of negotiations directly with President Trump. Part of his instituting of tariffs, in my opinion, is a power grab by the president relative to other countries around the world, trying to show how strong he is. And so what he'll require to lower tariffs is presidents and prime ministers from around the world will need to directly negotiate with President Trump, compliment him, maybe reduce their current tariffs against U.S. goods, but it's going to be a one-on-one negotiation. So it's how long the tariffs will be in place will be specific to each country.
Yes. Well, we're going to talk about South Korea because that's where we are. South Korea's significant trade relationship with the U.S. I mean, particularly in the automotive and electronics sectors. I mean, these industries for Korea were very export-driven, major industries. So, I mean, I'm going to assume these industries are going to be majorly affected by these new tariffs, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Automobiles that are imported into the U.S., automobile parts that are imported into the U.S. Will have a tariff rate of 25%. So this will definitely affect South Korean automobile producers.
Yes. And when we talk about the tariffs and how that might affect American households, we're talking about, consumers who are going to be affected by this. So some economists say, American consumers, it's going to cost them an additional $3,400 to maybe even over $4,000 annually. So in terms of this, I mean, isn't the consideration of the consumer a concern as well?
President Trump, it should be, but President Trump's perspective is that manufacturers will not pass these tariffs along to consumers, and that's what he hopes. And he used to always state the argument that it's not U.S. consumers who are going to be paying these tariffs, but it's the South Korean automobile manufacturers and so on who will be paying these tariffs. But that's incorrect.
If we can go back just a little bit to the whole automobile and electronics sector, Professor, because that's what's on the minds of a lot of our listeners this morning. With at least one company, they have pledged to build a new plant in the United States to, of course, President Donald Trump's praise and liking. So if we look at the other companies and the automotive sectors and the electronics sector, I mean, can we get a little bit more detail on how these two major sectors might be affected?
Well, basically, what it means is because of the tariffs, the price of Korean cars and Korean electronics in the U.S. will go up.
Yes.
And demand for these products will decline, and therefore the sales by these companies will decline. And so that's the mechanism that's ultimately going to happen.
I see. Well, critics argue once again that the tariffs are really going to affect consumer prices and even stunt economic growth, potentially leading to, people hate to say it, the R word, a recession. So how likely do you think that might be? First of all, the recession, and also if we can talk next about the trade tensions, how this might contribute to just a really broader economic downturn, not just for the U.S., but for countries around the world.
Well, that's right. So it's the trade tariffs are going to make everything more expensive. And so consumers are going to decrease how much they'll spend in these products. So companies will produce fewer cars. They'll produce fewer electronics goods because the demand's not there. And so from a U.S. perspective, there might have to be layoffs leading to slower economic growth and potentially a recession, although I think that's more difficult to predict. But these tariffs will definitely lead to slower economic growth, not just in the U.S., but around the world, including South Korea.
Yes. And I'm also curious about the whole trade balance issue because I think some just lay people like us, we're a bit confused because just because there is a trade imbalance, it seems at least on paper, does it necessarily mean that the free trade agreements are not working, Professor?
No. So the president doesn't understand how bilateral trade works. So the U.S. imports more goods from Korea, and Korea imports from the U.S., and that's called a goods deficit, and that's what the president focuses on. But there's also a finance aspect of trade. So what's happening is, so Koreans are not buying as many U.S. goods, but what they're doing instead is they're investing into the U.S. financially. So whether it's buying U.S. bonds or stocks.
Right.
But so the trade deficit always balances. It's just whether you're talking about goods or finances.
I see. Well, thank you for clarifying that, because a lot of people were wondering, is that the reason why Trump is targeting certain countries? Well, we are going to keep an eye on the situation and see where this goes, whether there will be an adjustment in the tariffs or not. But thank you so much for giving us your opinions and expertise on this very hot issue. Take care, Professor.
Take care. Thanks for having me.
This was Professor Philip Braun, and we talked about what has been declared Liberation Day by the Trump administration. So a new round of reciprocal tariffs on major trading partners, including, yes, South Korea. All right, we're going to take a song break right now. This is Snow by the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
To decide that the things that I tried were in my life just to get high on. When I sit alone, come get a little known, but I need more than myself this time. Step from the road to the sea to the sky, and I do believe that we rely on. When I lay it on, come get to play it on, all my life to sacrifice. Hey, oh, listen what I say, oh, I got your hey, oh. Now listen what I say, oh, oh. When will I know that I really can go to the well once more? Time to decide on when it's killing me. When will I really see all that I need to look inside? Come to believe that I better not leave before I get my chance to ride. When it's killing me, what do I really need? All that I need to look inside. Hey, oh, listen what I say. Come back and hey, oh, look at what I say, oh. The more I see, the less I know, the more I like to let it go. Hey, oh, whoa, whoa. Deep beneath the cover of another perfect wonder where it's so white as snow, clarity divided by a world so one-decided, and there's nowhere to go. In between the cover of another perfect wonder, and it's so white as snow. Running through the field where all my tracks will be concealed, and there's nowhere to go. For a friend, all the channels that have broken down. Now you bring it up, I'm gonna ring it up just to hear you sing it out. Step from the road to the sea to the sky, and I do believe what we rely on. When I lay it on, come get to play it on, all my life to sacrifice. Hey, oh, listen what I say, oh, I got your hey, oh, listen what I say, oh. The more I see, the less I know, the more I like to let it go. Hey, oh, whoa, whoa. Deep beneath the cover of another perfect wonder where it's so wide.
Get your local up-to-date news from Korea and abroad right here on Morning Wave in Busan with Catherine. Stay tuned.
It's time for City Insights, which means Stephanie's here. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are we
Happy
doing the wave
Thursday.
today? Happy Thursday
Yes.
wave. That means we're one day closer to Friday.
Yes.
Hey, so today, before we jump into our segment, we're talking about proselytizing, meaning like people coming up to you on the street saying like, oh, 이거, 이런 소식 들어봤어요.
Yeah.
And then
Oh,
like,
yeah.
So have you had any like unique experiences?
So I've heard that happens here in Korea.
Yeah.
But no one approaches me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I wonder why.
Do I look mean?
No, the opposite of.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't walk a lot.
Maybe that's why.
But still, when I do, they don't approach me.
Maybe you have this aura, like, don't approach me. I don't want to hear
Only
it.
like older, elderly people who are looking for, like where to go. They do. They have never been like, trying to tell me.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, like to pay them. They've actually been very nice. So yeah, I've never been approached.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But I
Okay.
would like to. Like, I want to experience the Korean culture.
Of being converted to a cult?
No, but at least say like, oh, like the other day I was approached.
Okay.
And they said
Like you're one of us.
Yeah, like I've only heard
I was gonna
about
say, do you really want to be approached? Well, we're going to dive into what you've brought to our listeners, which is...
So, spring is here.
Yes,
Right?
it's
And the
here.
weather should be getting better. Right? I think it is getting a little bit better.
Right.
And it's perfect time to step outside and explore new places around Busan. So today we're discovering some of Busan's hidden gems. While many people visit, famous places like Haeundae, Gwangalli.
Not hidden gems.
No, Kamcheon Culture Village.
Yes.
There are just so many lesser known spots waiting to be explored, I think. So first, Catherine, do you have a favorite hidden spot in Busan?
Oh, that's a tough one. I don't know. Are there any like hidden spots?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you gotta let me
going
know because
on?
like I don't know any of the hidden spots.
Even if it's like, I don't
Everywhere
know.
I go, there's like crowds of people.
That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So?
Well, let me tell you.
Okay.
So if you've already been to all the popular locations and want to experience a quieter, more authentic side of Busan,
Sure.
this segment is for you.
Okay, here we go.
I want to share about an area called Munhosong. Have you heard of Munhosong?
문오성. No, I have not.
Great.
Okay.
Now, that name might not be familiar to most people, even here in Busan, but it refers to 5 coastal or fishing villages, Dongbek, Sinpyeong, Chiram, Munjung, and Mundong, and they're all located in Ilgwangup of Gijang County. And these fishing villages have a long history of working together under the shared name Munhosong.
Yes.
So let's hear more from Mr. Choi Jae-young, coordinator at the Mundong Field Office.
이 5마을의 중간 정도의 지점에 문산이라고 불리는 이제 산이 있었습니다. 그래서 이제 이 문산의 앞 글자인 문에서 이제 이름이 붙어서 문호성이 된 거지 않을까 저희는 생각을 하고 있고 이 문호성 마을이 이제 서로 관계를 형성하면서 서로 이제 같이 놀기도 하고 뭐 일도 하기도 하고 이런 식으로 이제 오랜 기간 살아오셨다고 보면 될 것 같고요. 그리고 뭐 문호성의 이제 모습들을 좀 소개를 드리면 바다 쪽에서는 미역이랑 다시마 양식이 굉장히 활발하게 진행이 되고 지역에도 평생 해녀 일을 해오신 해녀분들이 뭐 전복, 성게 이런 것들 작업도 하시고 육지 쪽에서는 쪽파가 되게 유명합니다. 그래서 쪽파 농사는 거의 1년 내내 진행되는 거라고 봐주시면 되고 위치가 좀 감이 안 오실 수도 있을 텐데 간략히 생각하면 일광읍에서 임랑해수욕장 그 사이 정도의 구간이 문호성 마을이라고 봐주시면 될 것 같습니다.
Right, so he explained that the name Munhosong comes from the village's connection around the mountain called Munsan.
Okay.
And also there's 5 villages, as we mentioned, so Munhosong. And these communities worked and lived closely together under the shared identity. And while those ties have loosened somewhat today, residents still feel a strong connection to the name. And he added that Munhosong is known for both sea and land-based livelihoods.
Okay.
Along the coast, there is active seaweed and kelp
kelp farming, as well as 해녀 divers harvesting abalones and also sea urchins. And that's been going around for a long time.
Okay.
And inland, green onion farming, so 쪽파, continues year-round. So geographically, if you can imagine, 문호성 is located between 일광읍 and 임락 Beach as well.
Well, I've been to Ilgwang Beach, but like I'm not familiar with these areas that he's describing.
Yeah.
So I would love to go out. Oh, did he mention anything or maybe places recommended in Munhosong?
So after I met with him, I went online and I wanted to like plan a day this weekend to visit Kijang and Munhosong as well because I've never been. So
Sure.
I researched 3 places. If you're looking for a peaceful escape from the city, this would be good for you. So one is 신평소 공원 Park. Might be a night destination, especially for you because there will be like nobody. I guarantee you.
No crowds.
Right, like not a lot of reviews.
Yes.
And this small waterfront park is perfect for a peaceful walk while listening to waves crash against the rocks.
Nice.
And the park's charming coastline, red lighthouses, and rocky formation create a very nice view. And a wooden deck path stretches along the shore, and it's actually part of the Busan's famous 갈매길 walking trail as well.
Okay.
And in the center of the park, you'll find a really big ship sculpture. And there are cozy gazebos where you can relax, enjoy a meal, and I'm sure there won't be a crowd. So you can also go for hunting for seashells and crabs with kids. So it's a really good spot for relaxation and adventure as well.
Well, now that we're talking about it, maybe there will be.
I know. Maybe this weekend.
I know. Well, any other spots?
Right. So if you're in the area, you can stop by Chiramhang Port. Not only is it known for its stunning sunset views, but it's also home to fantastic seafood spots. So if you're a fan of 붕장어, grilled eel, this is a place.
Yum.
So right nearby, you can also find a charming cafe. I can't say the name of the cafe, but I'm sure a lot of people know. It overlooks the sea. It's famous for its delicious 소금빵, salt bread, and 치람 돌만주 as well. It's a unique local treat.
Sure.
It actually looks like rock. And for a bit of culture, you can also visit 해동 용궁사, a seaside
so
temple.
famous.
Yeah.
Right.
Do we have time for
Yeah, we
one
have
more?
time.
Okay. So there's also Mundong, a quiet, picturesque coastal area perfect for nature lovers.
Okay.
Whether you're maybe sipping tea while gazing at the ocean or just walking along the coastline, Mundong offers a really peaceful retreat from the city's hustle and bustle. And they have this scenic walk called 용소 월빙 공원. It's a former reservoir that was transformed into a lush green space.
Yes.
And the park has forest trail, observation deck overlooking the water. And also they have a lot of benches, rocking chairs, and pavilions. So I would really guarantee it, especially because it's going to be beautiful with cherry blossom trees.
Yes.
So I think it might be great to visit this weekend.
I don't know. You keep on guaranteeing. You're like, no crowds, I guarantee.
Yeah. Not a lot of reviews, but all the pictures look very nice.
Right.
Yeah. So I do recommend it.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, have you checked any of these spots out or you're planning to?
I'm planning to, but I did a lot of research and I looked up all the blogs and you can't copy and paste them. So I saved all of them on my name app. So I'm quite excited. I'm going to visit. Yes, this weekend, and I'll let you know next weekend.
Thank you.
Next week.
Yeah. Well, we look forward to your mini report.
Yes.
Your personal experience.
Yes.
In this area. So thank you so much, Stephanie.
I'll see you next week.
That's right, everybody. This was City Insights with Stephanie, and it does sound like pretty idyllic in terms of if you want to stay away from the crowds, but also visit some place that's not like too far away. We can definitely get there, right? That area where it's like Kijang-ub, close enough. So, and by the way, today we talked about a myriad of issues, right? We talked about the by-elections result. We talked about what happened across the country, those election results as well. And we also talked about the tariffs just a few hours ago, just in case you missed a part of our show. Trump's tariffs or additional tariffs. There is a baseline of 10% for those tariffs, but also for a few countries, more than a few, there's a list of countries with additional tariffs that are going to go into effect 25%. And yes, Korea is on that list. And that's why this is going to have a huge impact on our very export-driven economy. And so we're going to continue to follow this story and try to get you the details on how this is going to affect the country as a whole. And when you think about it, you know, the families, the companies, the SMEs that are actually, you know, connected to the big major corporations, it's not just like the big companies that are going to take a hit. This is definitely going to affect all of us. And plus, what about the U.S. consumers as well? I was saying in our special interview, you know, they're going to probably, as the economists say, have to pay a higher price for consumer goods. So there's a lot to unfold, and in the days to come, we will give you further details on that. And by the way, you know, before we close today, there are two things that I do want to remind you of. Today also happens to be the anniversary of the April 3rd uprising. And this is a day where armed government forces, you know, massacred over 14,000 people, including civilians, on the island back in 1948. And you might be thinking, well, you know, Jeju is definitely getting some renewed interest and attention due to a particular hit show on an OTT streaming platform. But also, I mean, it's not just about travel and beauty and tangerines. It's really important to remember what happened back in the day on Jeju as we appreciate Jeju and all its people and everything that it has to offer as well. Also, you know, we've been having some, you know, some people say not hot, but yes, definitely in terms of the milder, hotter, dry weather and strong winds that can quickly turn small sparks into wildfires. So with Cheongmyeong and Hansik approaching, please avoid using any type of fire during your visits to the graves to honor your ancestors, and do not burn agricultural waste or trash, and also limit mountain access if you have anything that is gonna, you know, spark a fire. And a reminder that accidental wildfires may lead up to 3 years in prison or a 30 million Korean won penalty. And we talked about the effects of the wildfires recently, not just in terms of human casualties. We talked about all the property damage, and today Haley went over even how it affects and affected animals, whether it's livestock, whether it's your own pets. So we really need to be extra careful out there. So thank you for joining us today. Our program, as always, is produced by our producer, Cho Yun-jin. We have our writers, Haley and Annie, and I'm your host, Catherine. I'll be back to do it all over again tomorrow. So tomorrow is Friday. And for those of you, I know some of you were mentioning that you're having a tough time at work. I don't know what I can say to make your day go by faster or make it better, but know that we're always behind you and that you have our full support. Have a lovely day. We're going to end it with this one, 부산에 가면 by Echo Bridge with 최백호. Wishing you a fantastic day. Bye, everybody.
부산에 가면 다시 나를 볼 수 있을까? 고운 머리결을 흩날리며 나를 반겼던 부산역 앞은 참 많이도 변했구나. 어디로 가야 하나. 너도 이제는 없는데 무작정 올라간 달맞이 고개에 시간이 멈춰버린 듯 이대로 손을 꼭 잡고 그때처럼 빛바랜 바다에 비쳐 나와 내가 파도에 부서져 깨진 조